The High Court struck down race-based admission programs in higher education.
The landmark decision ends the use of so-called affirmative action in college admissions. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the landmark ruling and the response to it.
The Supreme Court ruled to end the decades-long practice of affirmative action in college admissions on Thursday. The ruling found race-based admission programs violate the U.S. Constitution's promise of equal protection under the law. President Biden says he strongly disagrees with the ruling, calling the decision a severe disappointment.
I believe our colleges are stronger when they are racially diverse. Our nation is stronger because we are tapping into the full range of talent in this nation.
Biden proposes applicants should first qualify under a college's academic standards, but then have adversity they faced taken into account. He suggested financial means, living situations, and past racial discrimination as criteria to be considered. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona also called the decision disappointing. He says it prevents colleges from promoting diversity.
What we're going to focus on at the Department of Education is working very closely with our higher education institutions to make sure they have clarity around what the Supreme Court decision does and does not say. We are scouring through the 200 pages today to make sure that within 45 days, they have guidance, they have tools, they have resources.
Former President Trump posted on Truth Social that the ruling is a great day for America and that merit-based admissions is the way it should be. Republican presidential candidate and Senator Tim Scott feels institutions like Harvard should go a step further and eliminate so-called legacy programs that consider family history at the institution as an admissions factor. Scott told Fox News it's important to ensure all admissions are based on academic scores.
Being judged by the content of our character, not the color of our skin, is what our Constitution wants.
Edward Bloom, founder of Students for Fair Admissions and a plaintiff in the case, says discriminatory admissions practices undermine the integrity of civil rights laws.
You cannot cure racial discrimination that occurred in the past with new discrimination today.
Asian students in the case praised the decision.
It is my hope to see a renewed college admission system that recognizes and rewards the multifaceted talents and diverse perspective that each individual can bring to the table.
I'm ecstatic about this decision. It means that Asian Americans can finally get treated on their merits.
Chief Justice John Roberts wrote in his opinion that nothing is stopping universities from considering what the student talks about in their application essay, including race, as long as it's part of a more comprehensive look at the student's quality of character or unique ability that they can contribute to an institution. President Biden is reportedly looking into taking executive actions in response to the ruling. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
And joining us now is Dr. Carol Swain to give her take on this. And I will note that she has quite a remarkable story herself. Dr. Swain was born into abject poverty in rural Virginia and then earned 5 degrees and obtained early tenure at Princeton and full professorship at Vanderbilt, where she was a professor of political science and law. Good morning, Dr. Swain. It's so good to have you.
Good morning.
First, I want to get your reaction on this situation, on the Supreme Court striking down affirmative action.
Well, I applaud the decision because I believe that our civil rights laws and our Constitution were designed to protect all Americans, and that the DEI CRT environment had become such that the discrimination against whites and Asians had reached an intolerable level. And I anticipated that the court would strike down race-based affirmative action. In fact, I have a book manuscript that I am completing. I couldn't complete it until after the decision, but I anticipated the fall of affirmative action. And when my book is published later this summer, it will talk about how we can go beyond race. I believe that this can really set us on the path to healing race relations rather than the divisiveness of a race-based affirmative action that's no longer about equal opportunity. It's about equity now, equal results. And so that's my take on it. I applaud the decision and the courage of the justices.
And you just mentioned you anticipated, you saw it coming. How?
I saw it coming because it had become so absurd, and they had lowered the standards to the point where there were institutions that were really engaging in segregation separate course sections, and they had watered down curricular because they were trying to have quotas, even though quotas have been banned by affirmative action for a long time. They decided with that social engineering that they were going to have a certain percentage of each racial group. And, that's wrong. And it certainly disfavored high achieving students. And it hurt also the Blacks and Hispanics and the Native Americans, the high achieving minorities who got swept into it, who actually were admitted on the merits, but because of affirmative action, they will always be questioned about how they ended up at elite institutions.
I want to go a bit into your personal story as well. What was your personal experience like as a faculty member, as a student, and what factor, do you think race still plays in today's America?
Well, first of all, I want to deal with the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is I was a high school dropout. I was one of 12, and I had a GED, and I ended up as a Princeton professor. And clearly, what benefited me in the 1970s was that when I started college at a community college where I was qualified to get in fact, they admitted people that didn't have a high school diploma. I had a high school equivalency, and I proved myself at the 2-year college. I graduated magna cum laude from the 4-year college, a liberal arts college in Roanoke, Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, and all of this was, I was later inducted in Phi Beta Kappa, so I was pretty smart, but I benefited from an environment where equal opportunity and non-discrimination was what the law of the land was at the time, and also benefited from people who wanted to see other people succeed. And had I not been pushed by mentors, and most of them were white men, faculty, white males at these institutions, they really pushed me, and they never encouraged me, nor was I inclined to see myself as a victim. And so I always tried to excel, and I excelled, most of the time. I took remedial math, and so I grew up in an affirmative action environment, but you could fail. You had an equal opportunity to succeed or fail. What I saw put in place as a faculty member was a system where if once you got your foot in the door, you couldn't fail unless you stopped going to class. And the standards were lowered for faculty members. They put in easy majors. I would say that anything that ends with studies is an easy major. And so I saw the problems developing and young people that were admitted that couldn't do the work. And I think a lot of them were hostile. And that's why we've had so much unrest on college campuses. They have admitted people who really don't belong there.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Carol Swain. It's incredible where hard work can bring people and brought you. So we really appreciate you here today. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.